World Championship, the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola, just down the road from the Modena home of Ferrari. From near and far, they've come in their thousands to flaunt the Ferrari red, wave their Ferrari flags, cheer their Ferrari heroes, and will them to another win for the prancing horse. But it's not going to be easy for the men from Maranello at Imola. McLaren, stung by their defeat in Brazil, were here for 8 days before the race, testing revised Honda engine configurations, different brakes and other modifications, and it's worked. Mansell may lead the Drivers' Championship ahead of Prost, Gugelmin, Herbert, Warwick and Nannini, and Ferrari may lead McLaren in the Constructors' Championship, but at the end of practice it was the same old story, with McLaren up front on the grid. In pole position, it's world champion Ayrton Senna, last year's winner, starting there for the 31st time. Alain Prost, already a 2 times winner here at Imola and second last year. Nigel Mansell, a brilliant winner of his first Grand Prix for Ferrari in Brazil, third on the grid, but 1.5 seconds slower than Senna. Riccardo Patrese, who led the Brazilian Grand Prix in his Williams Renault, starts 4th. Marino Grand Prix is go. Senna leads, Prost second, Mansell third, Berger in 4th position, and Patrese. Now, already the 2 Ferraris are jostling with Patrese.
Very short red light then before we got to the green, and Mansell is having a look down the inside of Prost, got a wheel on the grass there, but a clean start. Everybody cleanly away. Senna, puff of smoke there as he locked his left front wheel going into the second gear left-hander. And away up the hill, and a glorious noise it is, hearing proper racing engines again after those turbos.
Yeah, and you see the McLarens are already pulling away, and there is Nigel Mansell in the Ferrari 640 V12 engine. Patrese is in 4th position, Berger is in 5th place, Thierry Boutsen is 6th, and off across the grass goes Maurizio Gugelmin in his march. But Senna and Prost have really got the hammer down. What they're trying to do now is build a cushion.
What will be interesting now is to see if Berger is quick enough on the straight once they've come across the start-finish line, the long run now that they're about to start on, whether Berger has got the straight line speed to do anything about Patrese's Williams. Certainly the Renault engine looks pretty powerful. And although Ferrari's engine probably isn't quite as powerful. Oops, and big problems. That was something broken on the car for sure. Big crash by Berger. Without any doubt, it went straight on.
And, oh, heavens above, this is dreadful. This is there are no words that can add to this appalling picture. The car off. And thank heavens there is a fire tender on the spot immediately. The drivers at least have pure air piped through to their helmets due to a special valve, and the fire is out. There is some relief. Now they must keep those fire extinguishers going.
Yes, the fire is out for the moment, but Berger must have been hurt in that because the car is the right way up, and if he hadn't been injured, I'm sure he would have hopped out.
And here's a replay. You see the Ferrari going off there onto the grass, into the wall.
Yes, and you see that, in fact, something broke on the car because it just went straight on. The car did not respond at all to Berger's turning the corner. And that was a very heavy impact. Remember, Nelson Piquet, last year or the year before, had a similar accident at the same corner.
The good news was that Gerhard Berger was not as badly hurt as we had first feared. Burns to face, arm and back, but no broken bones. Nigel Mansell bravely decided that notwithstanding Berger's major car problem, he, Mansell, was going to start again. And it was decided that the race would now take the form of an aggregate between the first 3 laps and a restarted 55-lap San Marino Grand Prix second leg. So, watch for the lights. For the second time, go. And Prost leads away. Senna second. Patrese up to third. Mansell momentarily back now into 5th position because the Benetton has gone forward and Derek Warwick is well up.
And that is very significant for the in-house McLaren race, that Prost made a fabulous start, but Senna is attacking and he's got the inside line for the corner. And Senna outbreaks Prost at the end of the drag away from the start. And so the 2 McLarens are back in line astern in the same order that they were, with some 3-second advantage to Senna from the first race. Clean start.
They're coming down to the Rivazza, and you can see the gap between Prost, Patrese, Nannini, Mansell, Nelson Piquet, Derek Warwick, and incidentally Satoru Nakajima in the warm-up in the second Lotus went extremely well this morning. Now they're streaming through to complete the lap. Senna goes through, long gap, Prost, long gap now. Then it's Patrese, Nannini, no change there. There is Derek Warwick in the Arrows Ford. We've got a camera on that car and hopefully we'll be seeing some pictures from it soon. And now we are into the 3rd lap of this restart as Mansell goes through and attacks Alessandro Nannini successfully, who fights back as they go round the left-handed Tosa bend, climbing up towards the Piratella. Mansell moves across to protect his position. Nannini re-attacks. Piquet is behind them. Senna is leading. Prost is second. Patrese is third. Mansell is now in 4th position and pulling away from Nannini. Sparks flying from the back of the Ferrari.
What's interesting there was to see that Nannini got out of that second gear corner rather quicker than Nigel Mansell on straight acceleration up the hill. Mansell was able to out-drag Nannini, which would indicate that the Ferrari engine isn't that bad, because it would appear to have more power than the Cosworth in Nannini's car.
Now, I'm delighted to tell you that thanks to an extremely efficient computer, I'm going to be able to give you, as this race goes forward, the actual aggregate situation. At the present moment, after 6 laps, Prost is some 4.8 seconds behind Ayrton Senna. There you see Nigel Mansell. Riccardo Patrese, who is following hard, is actually in 4th position on aggregate. But there goes Prost. There is Riccardo Patrese. Here is Nigel Mansell. And Mansell, shrugging off whatever feelings he may have about Berger's crash, is grimly setting about this race. He has caught and passed Nannini, and now he's closing on Patrese. That is one of the Minardis in the pit. There is Alessandro Nannini, who had such a fight with Nelson Piquet last year. Piquet in the Lotus Honda last year, the Lotus Judd this year. And the V12 Ferrari is going well. There is Patrese, and Mansell is catching him visibly.
Yes, indeed, and Mansell, of course, is already in 3rd place on the combined score, but he'll want to get 3rd on the road, and that looks like trouble from Derek Warwick's car. A nasty puff of smoke out of the back of Warwick's car, and I'm afraid that in my book that means only one thing, that his days are numbered, and that the car is blowing oil out, and it's only a matter of time before Derek Warwick's race is run. He's certainly going very well indeed, and that'll be a great shame. And meanwhile, Herbert is absolutely flying in this race. He's got it together because he had a very troubled practice and only qualified something like 22nd or 23rd on the grid as Mansell presses Patrese. And he'll find Patrese a bit more of a handful to pass, I fancy, than he did Nannini. Start off with the Renault engine, has a little bit more power. And Patrese is a notoriously wide person when it comes to overtaking.
Well, now the excitement is really starting, because Prost is almost in a passing position to take Ayrton Senna, and the Brazilian will be well and truly aware of that. He will see the red and white McLaren of his teammate big in his mirrors. They're dropping down now towards and through the Aqua Minerale bends, third gear, accelerating away up to the right and the left, the new chicane, or the fairly new chicane at the Variante Alta. Now building up speed as they drop down again towards the bridge, underneath it at about 155 miles an hour. There, as they dip momentarily out of our sight going away, come back now to the Rivazza, and Prost is definitely going to be in a passing situation. Whether or not he's able to do it remains to be seen. We rather doubt it. James is shaking his head.
And a good little scrap going on here down the field, and Martin Brundle surely will be well pleased with this, because he's been a little bit beleaguered in the Brabham team by the fact that Stefano Modena, the exceptionally talented young Italian, has been on the whole around about half a second a lap quicker than him in every practice session, which of course is a pretty depressing fact for a driver in a team. But Martin has risen to the occasion, and as you see there, he's got one car between them, and he's actually up with his teammate, so he'll be well pleased about that. Oops!
Oh my goodness, that's another one. Oh, and that's Stefano Modena, not Martin Brundle, and he looks perfectly okay, because he's glanced the wall, gone backwards into the tyre barrier, and I sincerely hope there is not the... Yes, he is, out of the car, here it is.
And look, this looks like another car failure. For no reason, the car just suddenly developed a mind of its own. And not a big impact, he jumped straight out of the car, but it certainly looked like, again, some sort of a failure, because the car just suddenly turned sharp right. Johnny Herbert at the moment some 8.5 seconds, and Mansell jumped him. That was absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic. Now, fantastic move, and Patrese appears to have stopped. Nigel Mansell is now in third position, whichever way you choose to look at this race, and there is Modena's car being hoisted off the circuit, the Brabham Judd, and there are the leaders. Now, I don't think Nigel Mansell is going to be able to do anything about this battle for the lead between Senna and Prost, with definitely Riccardo Patrese out of the race. Nigel Mansell is about half a minute behind Senna and Prost, and that is, at this stage of the race, a terrific gap. Now let's look at a replay. Patrese brakes hard, loses it, goes on the grass, and Nigel Mansell goes through.
That looked like engine to me. You can see the smoke coming out of the exhaust then of Patrase's car, and it looks like a sudden and terminal engine blow up, and he just pulled to one side and let Mansell go.
With 20 laps completed, it is in the lead, Ayrton Senna, just ahead of Alain Prost. Nigel Mansell up into third position. Nannini is now in fourth place. Nelson Piquet is fifth, and Derek Warwick is in the points at sixth.
And attacking Nelson Piquet for fifth place.
So Mansell goes past our box, the engine of his Ferrari sounding crisp. That is the remaining Brabham of Martin Brundle, and he's being caught by Senna and Prost. This is Prost's, or could be his, opportunity, although Senna is well known, especially from last year, for being brave when it comes to diving through to lap people. And Prost last year said, I've been racing... Now Mansell going suspiciously slow there. Mansell looks to me as though he is out of the race. Yes, the Benetton is past him. Now Piquet is past him. And Nigel Mansell sadly retires from his second Grand Prix for Ferrari, but perhaps in some ways he won't be too unhappy.
No, I'm sure, and he was being pretty frustrated behind Patrese. But this circuit now taking its toll mechanically. We know that Imola is very hard on transmission, hard on brakes, and high on fuel consumption. Well, obviously it's not a fuel problem yet, and there's the battle that they've caught. Martin Brundle busy battling away, letting Senna go, and as a proper driver should, he was aware of the leaders coming up behind him and did not interfere with their battle. That was good driving by Martin Brundle, because he was pretty busy with his own battle, and it's quite easy not to notice the leaders coming up on you.
And as Senna closes up to catch and lap the Dallara, Nigel Mansell walks in perfectly okay. Just the Ferrari that's stricken, not Mansell. So Alain Prost charging, and now you see Ayrton Senna coming up to catch Johnny Herbert and to lap him. So here's the young Englishman, Johnny Herbert, number 20, 24 years old, comes from Romford, and there's one of the Lotus out. I saw the marshal dashing across the circuit to wave the flag, and it's Piquet. Nelson Piquet is out of the San Marino Grand Prix to join Stefano Modena, Patrese, Nigel Mansell. Now Nelson Piquet is out, and Senna has lapped Johnny Herbert, and that means to say now Senna leading, Prost in second place, Nannini in third position. Up into fourth place comes Derek Warwick. Up into fifth position comes Thierry Boutsen.
And that was interesting to see the way Senna was able to simply outrun Herbert's Benetton Cosworth down the straight, and that must make Herbert look forward to his new Ford engine once they get it running as soon as possible.
And off spins Johnny Herbert. Herbert spins off in the Benetton. They go through, and he can't restart.
Well, he had the engine running after the spin, and he stalled it then as he was about to do a spin turn, and then there was another car coming, and that is not an ideal place to get yourself stranded. So a sad end to Johnny Herbert's race. Well, he's got the engine running, but I would think they will disqualify him for receiving outside assistance, and that's if he can get out of that sandpit, because they don't half bog you down.
And Boutsen is now up into fourth place, unseen by you. Thierry Boutsen has taken Derek Warwick as Senna goes through to complete yet another lap. It looks as though he has got his next Grand Prix victory very much within his grasp. He's won 14, the same number as Nigel Mansell. Alain Prost, another lap record, 27.708. 128.5 miles an hour. So Prost has lost nothing in terms of performance, and now he's got to do something in terms of gap.
Yes, well, the last two laps he's been 0.2 of a second quicker than Senna on both of them. The problem is, of course, that I don't think that that's a big enough performance differential for him to be able to pass Senna without at least persuading Senna to make some sort of a minor mistake.
Yes, Ayrton Senna is very definitely now commanding the race from the front on the 43rd lap in this 55-lap second leg. He's got a nearly 9-second lead on aggregate. He will be getting his pit signals and radio signals. Oh, Prost spins out! Alain Prost spins right out. Now, this is going to blow things wide open, but he manages to keep motoring. He had some momentum, kept the car going on the grass, and that was a masterly bit of thinking.
It's a very rare mistake. We don't often see Prosty spinning like that. And here, let's have a look at it again, but I don't think one can say anything but an error of concentration. Nothing appears wrong. He just turned in a bit sharply and failed to keep hold of the back of the car. And that surely has decided the result of the race. He kept the engine running, of course, very professionally, but that surely has decided the result of the race as far as the first two are concerned, because I don't think now that Prost will chase Senna even. I think he'll settle for second, which, of course, for the time being, will give him a lead in the championship of some 6 points.
Yes, and they're going out like flies at the present moment, because that is Louis Sala in the Minardi, and I think this is a replay of Prost coming up. Let's see, as he goes into the left-hander, you'll see the back of the car step out.
Yeah. Well, Mike Doods suggests to me that maybe Prost had a brake problem. That's certainly a possibility. The other thing, I see other people off the track, maybe there's a lot of oil suddenly gone down. But at the same time, Prost of all people would expect to spot that sooner than most.
So Ayrton Senna now has well and truly got it made. There's the gap, 22 seconds now between Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, with Alessandro Nannini still in third position, Thierry Boutsen still in fourth place, Derek Warwick in fifth position, and Jonathan Palmer in sixth place. In this, I emphasize again, the second leg, and it's not necessarily going to end that way when they aggregate the first leg and the second. And there's the going off that you saw. It's Andrea de Cesaris, who is not unknown to television viewers in terms of leaving the course, having a little rally cross with the Minardi. The Minardi coming out of it worst, de Cesaris motoring serenely onwards. And Senna leads, Prost second, and I would suspect that even Alain Prost, who is famous as being a fighter, there he is, will have given Senna best now.
Yes, it's clear action from the lap times. I think that they've discussed it over the radio with their pit, and that the two McLarens are now no longer racing. They've declared it a result as far as they're concerned, because both McLaren drivers have slowed right down and are just running to the end now, and they'll keep formation.
Well, if you're keeping on top of this race situation and knowing that there are two races to consider, I can now give you some really marvellous news. It doesn't matter which race you're talking about, Jonathan Palmer is now in the points, because the redoubtable Dr. Jonathan Palmer is in sixth position in the new Tyrrell 018, which he had not even sat in until the half-hour warm-up this morning. And even if he goes no further, it would have been a terrific achievement.
Yes, and it's just typical of Jonathan. The car isn't competitive, it's all a struggle, and yet he fights, and he's a real tough little customer. He's immensely fit, very strong, and he gives 110% effort all the time, and it's a reward that he really deserves, and let's hope that the car will keep him going all the way to the finish.
Race order, Senna has completed his 48th lap. We're still waiting for Alain Prost to go through. You're looking at the race leader, Ayrton Senna, as he's gone round the Tosa bend and climbing up towards the Piratella again. He is, I said, on his 49th lap. There is an enormously long and ever-increasing gap between him and Alain Prost. It's some 36 seconds now. So this quite incredible Brazilian, Ayrton Senna, has really got things in an iron grasp. McLaren Honda leads, McLaren Honda second. Alessandro Nannini in the Benetton Ford is in third position, but has been lapped. And in fourth position behind him, Thierry Boutsen in the Williams Renault. In fifth position, it is Derek Warwick, and as I told you, in sixth place, it is Jonathan Palmer. And we see now, for the first time for a long time, Alessandro Nannini, an Italian in Italy, who is in third place. If he stays there, he's going to have finished in the points in the first two Grand Prix of 1989. Brazil, he was sixth, and he's showing every sign of finishing third here in Italy. at Imola in the San Marino Grand Prix. Now you can see the McLaren there coming up to Johnny Herbert, race leader Ayrton Senna, coming up to Johnny Herbert, who had done so well earlier in the race before he spun off at the Tosa bend. And Martin Brundle, who had got back into the running again, is stopping as he goes past the main grandstand. He was way down in 12th position on aggregate, a long way behind, but now something terminal has happened. There he is, being pushed in, Martin Brundle being retired from the race with, I suspect, an engine problem from the way he stopped and the sound. And that is Larini out of the race. Nicola Larini out of the Osella with the nose cone on the grass behind him. There's obviously been physical contact. The tyre off the left front wheel, and Larini, that is very, very hard luck, because the way he was going, he was challenging Jonathan Palmer for 6th place on aggregate, and Osella has hardly ever been in the points.
Prost has clearly decided discretion is the better part of valour, and with brake trouble that is not a bad decision at all. He slowed right down. There's nearly a minute behind Senna, but being well over a minute in front of Nannini, it's purely a matter of getting the car around to the finish line and doing everything you can to make sure it gets there. Senna also has slowed right down now. And the important bit is the battle for Jonathan Palmer is having with Caffey, although it's a stopwatch rather than a visual battle on the road. And in fact, Jonathan is now coming out ahead of that. He's increased the gap to over 4 seconds, which I suppose with just a couple of laps or a lap and a half to go, that makes it now comfortable. And Jonathan Palmer looks as if he'll be rewarded very deservedly with a point for 6th place.
And behind Jonathan Palmer, there's a battle going on which has been resolved at the moment to the advantage of Tarquini, who has passed Alex Caffey into 7th place. Gabriele Tarquini, in his first race for AGS, is running 7th ahead of Alex Caffey. Martin Brundle, we've had confirmation, has retired because of an engine problem, and Ayrton Senna is now on his last lap. So, in a race which started originally this afternoon with a terrible crash which might have been absolutely disastrous for Gerhard Berger, mercifully that turned out not to be so. The race was restarted after just 3 laps, as a result of which we're working on an aggregate situation. But Ayrton Senna is comfortably on his way to win his 15th Grand Prix. He won here in San Marino at Imola last year, and he's going to win again and make it 2 in succession. He's almost within sight of the finishing flag now. The checkered flag is readied, and Ayrton Senna comes out of the last corner, crosses the line, raises his hand laconically, and there is checkered flag.
Yes, once again, all too easy for McLarens, but a good battle between the 2 McLaren drivers until what we think appeared to be brake problems for Alain Prost, at which point he abdicated from the battle, settled for 2nd place. We just have to wait and see that he crosses the line. And a tremendous race by Jonathan Palmer, reward for perseverance.
So, victory in the San Marino Grand Prix for Ayrton Senna, with his teammate Alain Prost 2nd, and they were the only 2 to go full distance. The Ligier team has protested Thierry Boutsen for changing his tyres between the 2 legs. In the Drivers' World Championship, Alain Prost has taken the lead ahead of a tie for second position between Senna and Mansell. In the Constructors' World Championship, McLaren have leapt to the front with a massive lead ahead of Ferrari. Derek, you were 5 seconds behind Gerhard Berger when he went off. What did you see?
Well, I was right up behind Piquet, having my own little race, and out of the corner of my eye, I see Berger's Ferrari just go straight off and hit the wall. It looked like a right rear suspension had broke, and he hit the wall, and he was going round at the same time, and there was bits of suspensions and wheels coming off in the middle of the circuit. And all I was doing at that time was coming off the throttle so as to avoid all the wreckage that was coming onto the circuit, because there was a lot of big stuff on the circuit. And then as I was going by, I could then see what was happening. The car was still spinning, and then it stopped, and out of the corner of my eye, the thing just exploded.
Do you have any idea from your point of view what might have caused it?
Where the accident happened, it had to be a problem. It had to be a suspension failure, or Thierry said he see the front wing break. But it seems that the right rear suspension just broke, and as he went into the corner, it just broke and then just shot straight in. If the rear suspension broke, then he would have no steering and he'd go straight into the wall.
Knowing how fast he went into the wall, does it surprise you as a driver that he came out of it so comparatively unscathed?
I think that it's good that all the safety that we've done over this past years, if that had happened 5 years ago, not only would he have been dead through impact, but also because of the fire. And I think that reinstates all the work that everybody's done in order to make Grand Prix racing safer.
Now, let's talk about Derek Warwick in the San Marino Grand Prix.
True.
A much happier story in the points for the second race in succession.
Yes, I didn't really feel like a racing driver. I felt more like a taxi driver out there. We had problems with the gearbox right from the start, and then from about lap 25 we had an exhaust brake, which I was still able to keep on of Piquet, and then another exhaust broke and I lost all power, so then I just had to bring it home. And then 3 laps from the end we had a piston or something break up, because I lost complete power, and I come in on 7 cylinders and beat Jonathan by just a few seconds.
It was such a change, actually, coming up behind cars, being able to overtake them, and actually being quicker than other cars. It really was. It hasn't happened to me for a long time in Formula One.
What do you put it down to? Is it aerodynamics, mainly?
Yes, it is. Yeah, Jean-Claude Migeot is our aerodynamicist, and he's worked with Harvey Postlethwaite, and they've really done a lot of hard work. We know the car's been a bit late, but believe me, it's got a lot of potential. It's got more downforce, more grip than the old car, and it's about 10 miles an hour faster in a straight line. So you know that's the sort of difference that puts you up perhaps a couple of 2 or 3 seconds on the grid.
Good news from Jonathan Palmer, and very good news about Gerhard Berger, who is in hospital in Bologna, conscious and lucid, with no internal injuries or broken bones. He's breathing normally, did not inhale any fumes, but does have first-degree burns of the arms and chest, and worse burns on his hands. So, after a San Marino Grand Prix, which saw a dramatic reversal of fortunes, the teams reform for the Monaco Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time.